Is it okay not to like someone? To answer this question, let's ask Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Guru Nanak Dev Ji tells us the nature of that one, Akal Purkh WhyGuru, that Karta, that creator is what? Is Nirvair. So when we look at this word Nirvair, this actually answers that question for us. Because Vair means enmity. Enmity means to oppose somebody. And then Nir negates the word, making it beyond any form of enmity. That one doesn't oppose anything or anyone, because there is no other for that one to oppose, because there is only one. Only if that one was in duality could that one oppose something or someone, or feel a sense of hatred towards someone. So let's understand this question deeper through Nirvair. Guru Arjan Dev Ji tells us that one, Vavva, Vair na kariye kahu. They're saying to us that learn from this letter Vavva, Vair na kariye kahu. Don't oppose anyone. Don't have any enmity towards anyone. Vair na kariye kahu. Because if we do, then we can't be one with Nirvair. We can't be one with that one, because we'd have to become Nirvair to become one. We can't say, well, if I'm oil and I want to now merge in to the water with the ocean, it's just not going to happen. We have to become the same to merge with that water. Just like Guru Arjan Dev Ji tells us that Suraj kiran mile, that only the ray of the sun can meet and merge back in with the sun, because the ray of the sun comes from that sun and then it can meet and go back into that sun. So in that way, we have to become the same as that one to merge back with that one. So Guru Arjan Dev Ji is telling us, Vavva vair na kariye kahu. With anyone, kahu means with not just anyone. That actually means with anything. Kariye kahu. Kat antar. That within each and every heart, or at the heart of each and everything. Kat antar Brahm samahu. Brahm is referring to that creator. That the light of that creator is within, is immersed within everything. So they're saying that if the light of that one is in everything, then how can we oppose something? Let's take a look at this now. Where is it that we trip up? We trip up in these places. And we try and be very clever at times with our language and words. So we'll be more careful in saying things like, because there's a lot of awareness, there's a lot of talk of spirituality. So we'll find there's a lot of people that try and not use the word hatred, and they're trying to avoid it. So even when somebody does end up using it, you'll hear, if they do say, I hate, or I hate that thing, and you'll normally you'll notice that then they'll retract and they'll say, oh, actually, no, I don't mean I hate it. And you'll hear things like, that's quite a strong emotion, isn't it? So I suppose I don't hate it. And then we'll say, it's more so that I dislike such and such. I dislike that person, or I dislike this thing. Not realizing, not realizing that actually they're very closely related. They're brothers and sisters, or however you want to put it. You get the gist. So what we try and do is we try and switch our language, not realizing actually that this comes from the same place. This has got the potential of growing into that type of emotion, because hatred is a very strong emotion, that's right. But we're talking here about opposing something. And once we start to oppose something in that way, even if it's via saying that I dislike, I don't like such and such, or I don't like this thing, what we're doing is we're actually opposing that thing. And what we're doing is then we're closing ourselves towards something, towards the creation of that one, which will set off into duality for us. will cause division for us. Let's look at this, what we're actually doing. The moment we're saying that we dislike something, we're putting something here. And then the opposite to that is that we like something and we put that up there. So then we start to look down at something and then we start to look up at something. The moment we do that, we create this sense of duality for us. So then there's no space for one, because we've now created two, dislike and like, down and up, high and low. What will this cause if we live in this way? If we just okay and we do this all the time, and we do, many of us do. I do it, I try and live that much more consciously, knowing all of this, not to say I don't trip up, but we do it all the time. But try and become a little bit more conscious of it after watching this video, of how many times you do it. And let's look at the disadvantage, not from the bigger picture of falling into duality, but just on an everyday situation in life. Let's take a piece of food. When we decide and we say, no, I don't like that. What we don't realize is we actually close a door towards something. And then that becomes our karmic cycle. So now that will start to lead our cycle of life. What we do is then we start going round and round in circles. So now we've created that, and that's gone and sat in our subconscious mind. And now every time, however I approach that something, it will be bound from I don't like. Or we could even go the other way, which is I like, which is a bit more difficult even to actually overcome. So there's a piece of food. I've eaten it once, I've had an experience with it or whatever reason, and I've decided I don't like it. So now my approach to it will be bound from that, and then I probably won't eat it again, or the way I approach it will be completely now from that negative mindset. So it keeps me in that cycle now. But that piece of food may be something that I need for my health, that is going to help me to get better from a certain disease, or it's just healthy for me, or it could be any other reason. So now I've closed myself to it. The way I approach it is going to be negative. So now the way my body reacts to it is going to be negative as well. Instead, what can we do instead then? So instead, this is what we do. This is how we approach it. We approach it with just seeing it for what it actually is, and not making that judgment on it. And if it's bitter, let's just say this has got quite a strong taste. It's got a bitter taste. That way, what we're doing is we're leaving ourselves open to WhyGuru's creation. And we're not setting ourselves in that duality of, we're not saying it's high or low. We're not saying I dislike or like. We're just taking everything for what it actually is. So describe it for what it is. Oh, this is quite sweet. And now we can do that and that approach, but behind there isn't a judgment. Behind there isn't putting it down or up in that way. And why I emphasize that it's important, because now when we switch that from a piece of food to a person, because when we switch that now to a person and we oppose that person, well, I don't like this person for whatever reason. Instead, let's just maybe look at them for, okay, they speak this way and I can take responsibility. I might struggle with that, but it's not about putting them down here of a place of dislike and then now opposing them, or putting them up there, because when I put somebody up there, then I'm going to put somebody down there as well. Instead, just take them for what they are and understand it for myself without going into a place of being judgmental towards them, of creating duality inside of us. In that way, we're not opposing anything. When we're not opposing anything, we start to become more and more like Nirvair. Because Nirvair is another name of that one. And we want to get rid of our home, which is attached to the me, and I want to become you. I want to now become tu karta, tu hua, Muj mein hai, raha na hu, where I'm just saying you, and a part of you is Nirvair. And I, in this way, start to become more like you. Perfect example that I'm sure most of you have heard many of times, but I always say we haven't actually heard it until we become it. Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, if they had already that preconceived idea, well, this is the enemy, and this is my people, and these I don't like, I dislike them, the Mughals and whoever else there might be, I don't like them. If he had that approach, then never would he have been able to approach them with water. But instead, where was he coming from? He was coming from that place of Nako Bari, that there is no enemy for me. That's what Bari means from the word Var. Nako Bari, I don't oppose anyone. Nako Bari, Nahi Begana, nobody is an outsider for me. Because again, for somebody to be an outsider for me, then there has to be duality. Nako Bari, Nahi Begana, Sagal Sang, everyone. Humko ban ai, I'm good with everyone. They might not get on with me, but I'm good with everyone. And today you can see these examples as well with organizations like Khalsa Aid. They don't think, well, this community belongs to this certain faith or religion, and we don't like that religion. We don't like that faith. So then you naturally oppose them. Then you close yourself to take somebody for what they actually are and being able to serve them. You close your door to serving so many in that way. Instead, we want to make that switch, like we went through from Nirpao of Nanak Sevak Kandiye. We want to become that Sevak. We want to become that servant that doesn't come from that place. And instead, we only now are coming from that place where it's just purely Nirvair, like Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, Nako Bari. And because he didn't have that inside of him, he hadn't created that within his mind, he was able to give them water. Because, like organizations that are running today, which are our examples, we can see Khalsa Aid in action in all types of countries, serving all type of faiths. But can you see how this can close so many doors for us? The moment I say I dislike such and such at work, the way we approach them will be all based off that. So that bounds us. We're living in this karmic cycle now. We'll never be able to escape that then. It just keeps going on and on for many lifetimes. And we'll understand that further in the further videos, and when we go through a journey, it will all make sense. Just from being there, if we keep Var inside of us, we'll keep in Dunya, in different life forms, will keep coming and going. So let's start this. Take this away with you now. Don't let this just be another video that you watch to gain more intellectual knowledge. Let this become your wisdom when you're practicing and putting this in your life. Something that I attempt to practice. Like I said, definitely not perfect, never claim to be, always falling. Something I try and live by. Let's try and introduce this into our life. Let's try and start taking WhyGuru's creation for what it is instead of creating this duality within ourselves of disliking, which then turns into this strong emotion of hatred. Or even if it doesn't, we're still opposing, which is enough to fit into the bracket of being a vari, and somebody that is an enemy towards someone, or having var, having enmity towards something or someone. Let's walk towards that direction of becoming Nirvair. WhyGuru Ji ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji ki Fateh.